The movie begins on a snowy night at Camp David. Secret Service agent Mike Banning, played by Gerard Butler, is part of the president's security detail. President Benjamin Asher, First Lady Margaret, and their son Connor are preparing to head out. Mike shares a strong rapport with the president, and especially with Connor, treating him like family. As they drive through the snowy roads, tragedy strikes. Their car crashes on a bridge after a freak accident with an out-of-control truck. Mike saves President Asher, but he can't rescue the First Lady, who plunges to her death. The tragic moment leaves Mike emotionally scarred. Time passes. Mike is now working at the Treasury Department, desk-bound and haunted by guilt. He watches the White House from afar, wishing he could return to the president's detail. Meanwhile, President Asher is preparing to welcome South Korean Prime Minister Lee Tae-woo for a diplomatic meeting. Unbeknownst to anyone, a deadly plan is already in motion. As the diplomatic meeting begins, a heavily armed C-130 military transport plane suddenly appears in Washington, D.C. airspace. Despite being warned off by the Air Force, it opens fire, killing civilians and causing mass chaos. Anti-aircraft guns try to bring it down, but not before it wreaks havoc across the city and crashes in the middle of the National Mall. On the ground, a team of disguised terrorists, posing as tourists and construction workers, suddenly attack the White House. With frightening coordination, they slaughter Secret Service agents and storm the grounds. Explosions rip through the fence lines. In a matter of minutes, the White House, codenamed Olympus, is under siege. The attackers, led by Kang Yon-sak, a North Korean terrorist posing as a South Korean security official, infiltrate the building and seize control of the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, POC. They take President Asher, Vice President Charlie Rodriguez, Secretary of Defense Ruth McMillan, and others hostage in the underground bunker. Kang reveals his goal: the reunification of Korea and the removal of U.S. forces from the Korean Peninsula. But there's a deeper, more dangerous plot unfolding beneath the surface. While the chaos unfolds, Mike Banning witnesses the attack from the Treasury building. His instincts kick in. He rushes across the street, kills several armed terrorists, and makes his way into the White House through a secret underground entrance. He is now the only friendly operative inside the captured White House. As the attackers hunt down survivors, Mike begins a deadly game of cat and mouse. Using his knowledge of the building and lethal skill set, he eliminates terrorists one by one, regaining control of parts of the mansion. Back at the Pentagon, acting Speaker Alan Trumbull takes charge after the vice president is taken. General Clegg and other high-ranking officials scramble to mount a response. They receive Mike's communication and realize he's their only asset inside. Mike confirms that President Asher is alive and held in the bunker. However, Kang is trying to extract the Cerberus codes, launch override codes from the president, vice president, and secretary of defense, which could give him control over America's nuclear arsenal. Kang reveals that he's looking for Connor Asher, the president's son, who might be a pressure point. Mike learns that Connor is somewhere inside the building, hiding. Risking everything, Mike searches for the boy. Eventually, he finds Connor safely hidden in the building's maintenance shafts. Knowing that Kang wants him, Mike sneaks Connor out through a ventilation system and into the care of friendly forces outside. This moment gives President Asher a glimmer of hope. Kang intensifies his torture, killing Vice President Rodriguez and pressuring Secretary McMillan to give up her Cerberus code. She resists as long as she can, but eventually breaks. With 2 out of 3 codes in his possession, Kang is one step closer to his goal. Mike realizes he's running out of time. Trumbull authorizes a Navy SEAL team to infiltrate via helicopter. But Kang anticipates the attack. The helicopters are shot down by anti-aircraft weapons mounted on the White House lawn. The Pentagon watches in horror as the mission fails. Morale drops. The nation holds its breath. Mike hacks into the building's surveillance system and taunts Kang. He begins sabotaging Kang's operations and taking out key terrorists. He fights his way into the command center and has a brief radio exchange with President Asher. Kang, furious and desperate, initiates the Cerberus sequence using the codes. A countdown to self-destruction of the U.S. nuclear arsenal begins. In a brutal final showdown, Mike confronts Kong hand-to-hand. After a vicious fight, Mike finally kills Kong, stopping the timer just seconds before detonation. With the terrorists defeated, Mike rescues President Asher and escorts him out. Trumbull, the Pentagon, and the American public breathe a sigh of relief. Outside, President Asher is reunited with his son Connor. The nation mourns the losses, but celebrates its resilience. Mike, once burdened by guilt, finds redemption. The final shot is an American flag being raised over the White House, damaged but still standing strong. In the darkest hour, when freedom was under siege, one man stood alone behind enemy lines. Olympus fell, but America endured. Bell love action-packed thrillers like this? Subscribe to RecapVerse so you never miss a heart-pounding recap. More high-stakes movie summaries are coming your way. Stay tuned and let us know what you want next.